I'm Bruce Horn. I'm a farmer from Meon in the Meon Valley. They've chosen this farm because in the late 1980s several things were discovered: a Saxon settlement, a Roman building, and Roman occupation around the area. So that was all excavated in the late 80s, as I said. A window was found in the end of the building, which has gone to the British Museum and is on display there. And so they've been back a time or two, rediscovered more burial ground, and they're coming back this weekend to try and find more information about the Roman building and the surrounding area in the field. And I understand that they found evidence of a boundary. This is what they're trying to achieve: boundary ditches, ancient hedgerows, that sort of thing. My father bought this farm in 1956, and we lived at the other end of the village on another farm at the time. And my wife and I got married in 1971, built this house, and have lived here ever since. And we didn't know anything about this until some metal detectors found evidence of a Saxon settlement, but with brooches and things. And they said that would we like to investigate further and tell the authorities. And then from that they came and did the excavations, and they already knew about the Roman building because that was discovered in 1939 when the A32 was widened, and they discovered four foundations of walls, and it was identified as being Roman. But of course they didn't do anything then because the war was imminent, and so that it was just covered in and left. So it was known that it was there, but I certainly didn't know anything about it until the late 80s. When I was at school, I hated history, geography, anything like that. The only thing I was good at was maths. But when it's discovered on your doorstep, it puts it in a different perspective. And to see actual evidence of what happened and what went on puts a completely different light on it. And obviously now schools go out and visit sites and actually see what was there, what happened, and explain a lot better than me sitting in a classroom in the 1950s with a boring old teacher trying to drum it into you.
This morning we're at Shavards farm in Meon, which is a site that has witnessed a fairly large amount of archaeological excavation over the years. There's been 2 or 3 major archaeological projects which I've been involved with along with my colleague Mark Steadman. Now we're here today as part of the Meon Valley project, and what we want to do is to build on what those excavations have revealed, to try to tell us something about the wider context, in particular of the Roman building that was discovered in the late 1980s and the Anglo-Saxon settlement which was associated directly with that Roman building. So in order to investigate these questions, we've brought along some geophysical specialists from Wessex Archaeology and also from the University of Winchester, and they're carrying out techniques of both magnetometry and resistivity around where the excavations have taken place to try to tell us more about the immediate environment of those sites. And they're being assisted by volunteers from the local villages. So those volunteers are, taking part in discovering aspects of their own heritage. Yesterday we set out doing the work at 9 o'clock, and despite the rather poor weather in the morning, we managed to make some very good progress. We surveyed around about 10 to 12 20-metre square grids with magnetometry and about half that resistivity, and what we've managed to recover is a very interesting, quite large linear feature running right through the site and looks to be aligned on the Roman building that was excavated. Now, because the linear feature is in the same direction as the Roman building, it suggests that it's roughly contemporary to it, and that it may have served as a large field boundary or perhaps as a boundary to the Roman villa itself. Today we're doing some further surveying in that rough area to see if we can define more of that linear feature and any other features that may be associated with it, perhaps smaller field boundaries or any other structures that might be in the area. So it's good progress yesterday. Hopefully we'll build on that today.
We're going to do magnetometry, we're going to do metal detecting, and we're going to do
Restitutivity.
Restitutivity.
As you can understand, we don't know anything about this yet.
No.
We're here to be trained,
Yes.
among
so
other
we're
things.
all volunteers, and we're being guided by the archaeologists, obviously. And hopefully, maybe we'll find something.
And what motivated you to kind of get involved?
Well, we've lived in this area for a very long time, so we were here when the original Saxon digs took place, and so we've always been very interested.
Yeah,
And
we actually did go to the presentation in about 1980s, something or other, of the excavation of the Roman villa here, the Roman building, and indeed I have the report at home. So from all that really has inspired our interest. And of course the area is very rich in Saxon remains, all up and down the valley here. It's fantastic.
they've already found some Roman buildings just down in the corner of the field down there a long time ago. So they also hope we might find some more Roman remains, and hopefully some Saxon development took place on top of the Roman area. So,
I mean, the great question is, what happened here in Britain, if you like to call it that, between the Roman Empire's collapse and the Saxon civilizations? You know, what was how did it work? You know, did the Saxons take over the Roman buildings, or did they use the bricks, or what? Well, all that needs to be found out, because we don't know very much about that. So that's why we're here, really.
I'm Miley Fletcher, I'm 12 years old, and I live in Meon in St Andrews Green. I'm looking for certain objects, Roman settlement and Saxon buildings underneath the ground. So at the moment I've been doing metal detecting, and I'll be doing magnetrons and stuff like that later. I know that the Romans invaded Britain, and there was lots of dispute between the Saxons and the Romans. They possibly think that there's a Roman house stretching across the road and a bit into this field, and a cemetery over by the farm, and this could be a possible courtyard. We've used a lot of metal detectors. There's been some magnetrons where we can, and there's also been, I'm not sure what it's called, but there's a thing where you can scan the landscape and see what's underground.
Archie, I'm 13 and I go to Portsmouth Grammar School.
And what are you doing here today, Archie? Tell us.
I'm metal detecting and doing some magnetism stuff and trying to find Roman things in the area. It's nice because if you find something, it's really exciting, and you want to keep on going and find good stuff. We have learnt about stuff like brooches and stuff, and how they can be found today underground.
And what sort of equipment have you been using?
We've just been using metal detectors to find metal. I've really enjoyed it, yeah.
I'm Tom Arthur, I'm 17 and I'm in the upper sixth form at Christ Hospital School. I am doing magnetronomy, which is it's essentially just studying the ground to see if there are any traces of metals. Well, I'm thinking of studying history and archaeology at university, so I thought it'd be good to get some experience under my belt.
What sort of things have you learned?
At the moment, just how to operate some basic equipment that I'd be using if I did do the course. For my AS level, I studied I studied the Norman conquest, so Anglo-Saxon, Norman. Well, this is an Anglo-Saxon settlement, so that's of a particular interest. I really enjoyed the day.
My name is Mark Steadman, I'm a community archaeologist. I'm associated with the University of Winchester. Out here today we're doing a pretty sort of extensive survey of a series of fields adjacent to the River Meon in Meonstoke. What we're really trying to do today is we're just trying to identify any associated features or archaeological evidence which we can perhaps determine, hopefully, through geophysical and magnetometry survey and metal detector survey as well, of associated features in relation to a Roman building or possible Roman villa building or an agricultural structure dating from the least to the 2nd century AD. The building itself has an interesting history of a collapsed barn that was found during excavations, and also evidence for later Anglo-Saxon activity, perhaps relating to a farmstead and a community of Germanic settlers that probably would have occupied the Meon Valley, or perhaps even native British who would have identified themselves as Anglo-Saxons back in the 5th and 6th century. And we're trying to really, I suppose, find the sort of the evidence for the Anglo-Saxon settlement of the valley, really. So it seems the most natural place to start looking in terms of the Roman building itself. Obviously it came to the end of its life, and this in the 4th century into the 5th century, hopefully we'll find some evidence of features like sunken feature buildings or post holes through a geophysical survey. We've got a really good group of people who have come out today to come and work on the project. We're having a really good time here in the sense that it creates a fantastic opportunity for professional archaeologists, such as teams from Wessex Archaeology, also for experienced trained groups of students from the local University of Winchester, who come out to survey and to work closely with the community here. And it's the most important thing really is to sort of, I suppose, to offer an opportunity for people to engage with their local heritage, particularly the local people who live here themselves, because the important thing is that everybody, from whatever background, whether they are professional archaeologists or amateur archaeologists or metal detectorists, because we've got a superb group of metal detectorists who come out today, who work very closely with the Portable Antiquities scheme. We can all work together to I suppose, in long-term safeguard this tremendous archaeological resource here, and also to really get an opportunity to explore and share this really important heritage. One thing I would say, which is a very important thing about this site, there aren't, or I should say there are not many Roman villas in southern England or eastern Wessex really, let alone Hampshire, that have produced such fantastic evidence for Roman to Anglo-Saxon activity. So it's just a remarkable thing really for, to see people come out today and work closely with the project, and to see all these wonderful organisations who have inputted their time, money and energy into making this reality really.